The stars looked different from the bridge of the harmonious dawn, Captain. Zixtara pressed his six-fingered hand against the viewing window and watched a small blue planet grow larger on the screen. His purple skin rippled with excitement. After 3 months of travel, they had finally reached the third planet of the Sol system. "Captain, we are picking up more signals," said Dr. Quinter from his station. The tall, thin alien had been studying the electromagnetic waves coming from the planet for weeks. "They are getting stronger, much stronger than we first thought." Zixtara walked back to the center of the bridge. Around him, 12 different alien species worked at their stations. Some had scales, others had fur. A few looked almost like plants with moving parts, but they all shared the same goal. They wanted to learn about this new world and the creatures that lived on it. "What kind of signals are they?" the captain asked. "Many different types," Dr. Quinter replied, his voice making soft clicking sounds. "Some appeared to be for entertainment, others seemed to be for communication across long distances, and some..." He paused and looked at his readings again. "Some appeared to be military in nature." The bridge became quiet. Military signals usually meant one thing. The species on the planet below knew how to fight. Most species in the galaxy were peaceful. They had learned long ago that fighting only brought pain and death. But sometimes they found worlds where the creatures still engaged in violence. "Are they fighting each other?" asked Lieutenant Vexera, the ship's security officer. Her blue skin turned slightly darker when she was worried. "It appears so," Dr. Quinter said. "But the strange thing is, they also seem to be working together on many projects. We are seeing signals that suggest they share information, trade, goods, and even help each other during disasters." Captain Zixera thought about this. A species that could fight and cooperate at the same time was unusual. Most violent species in the galaxy eventually destroyed themselves. The ones that survived usually gave up violence completely, but these creatures seemed to do both. "Prepare the standard first contact protocol," he ordered. "We will try to communicate with them using mathematics and simple pictures." Down on Earth, Jake Morrison was having a normal Tuesday morning at the Arecibo replacement array in Puerto Rico. The former Marine had been working as a communications specialist for 3 years now. He liked the quiet work of listening to space and looking for patterns in the radio waves that came from distant stars. Jake was drinking his second cup of coffee when the computer started making noise. At first, he thought it was just another pulsar or maybe interference from a satellite. But as he looked at the data on his screen, he realized this was something different. The signal was too organized to be natural. It came in patterns that repeated every few minutes, and it was getting stronger, which meant whatever was sending it was getting closer to Earth. "Holy crap," Jake said to himself. He had been trained to look for exactly this kind of signal, but he never really believed he would find one. He picked up his phone and called his supervisor. "Director Hayes, you need to get down here right now. We have something big." Lisa Hayes had been the director of the United Earth Defense Council for 5 years. She had dealt with terrorist threats, natural disasters, and political crises. But she had never dealt with anything like this. 30 minutes later, she stood in the control room looking at the same data that had made Jake drop his coffee cup. The signal was clearly artificial. It showed mathematical sequences, starting with simple addition and moving to more complex equations. Then it showed pictures made of dots and lines, simple shapes at first, then more complex drawings. "How long have we been receiving this?" Lisa asked. "About 2 hours," Jake replied. "And Director, there's something else. The signal is coming from just outside our solar system. Whatever is sending this is close, really close." Lisa felt her heart beat faster. She had spent years preparing for this possibility, but she never thought it would actually happen. "Have you tried responding?" "Not yet. I wanted to check with you first." Lisa thought for a moment. Every protocol they had developed said to be careful with first contact, but the aliens were already trying to communicate. They were using math and pictures, which seemed peaceful enough. "Send back the same mathematical sequence they sent us," she ordered. "Let them know we understand." Jake typed commands into his computer and sent Earth's first message to an alien species. It was simple mathematics, just like they had received. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 3 times 3 equals 9. The response came back in less than an hour. More math, but more complex, then more pictures. The aliens were clearly intelligent, and they seemed to want to communicate. Over the next 3 days, the communication became more detailed. The aliens sent pictures of their ship and drawings of themselves. They looked strange, but not threatening. They sent pictures of other worlds and other species. It became clear that they were part of some kind of galactic community. Then came the request that changed everything. The aliens sent a series of pictures that showed their ship landing on Earth. They showed themselves meeting with humans. The pictures made it clear that they wanted to visit and study human culture. They seemed particularly interested in what they called natural behavioral patterns. Lisa called an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. Representatives from every major nation came to the secure facility in Colorado to discuss humanity's first contact with alien life. They seem peaceful, said General Adams, the military representative. But we need to be careful. We don't know what they really want. They want to study us, Lisa replied. The question is, do we let them? Dr. Patricia Wong, the council's chief scientist, looked at the translated messages. They're asking to observe a small human community. They want to see how we live our normal lives. It's actually quite reasonable for a first contact scenario. Where would we let them observe? Asked Ambassador Chen, the diplomatic representative. Lisa had already thought about this. Cedar Falls, Colorado. It's small, isolated, and the people there are used to keeping secrets. The town sits in a valley surrounded by mountains. Easy to control access. What about the people living there? General Adams asked. Do we tell them about the aliens? We tell the local authorities, Lisa decided. Sheriff Carter and Mayor Johnson need to know, but we ask them to keep things as normal as possible. The aliens want to see natural human behavior. 3 days later, the alien ship received permission to enter Earth's atmosphere. Captain Zixera was excited, but also nervous. His crew had studied hundreds of worlds, but something about this one felt different. The mathematical ability of the humans was impressive. Their technology seemed advanced, but there was something else in their communications that he couldn't quite understand. The humans seemed eager to meet them, but also cautious. They had agreed to let the aliens observe one small community, but they had also made it clear that the aliens would be watched carefully. This combination of openness and suspicion was unlike anything in Zixera's experience. Take us down slowly, he ordered his pilot. These humans are ... interesting. I want to be very careful with them. The harmonious dawn descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the small town of Cedar Falls. None of the aliens on board realized that they were about to witness something that would change galactic policy forever. They thought they were simply going to study another peaceful species that had recently developed space communication. They had no idea that they were about to meet humanity. The harmonious dawn landed in a hidden valley 5 miles from Cedar Falls just as the sun was setting. Captain Zixera watched through the ship's sensors as the small human town prepared for night. Lights came on in houses scattered across the valley floor. Smoke rose from chimneys. Everything looked peaceful and normal. Begin setting up the observation equipment, he ordered Dr. Quinta. I want to monitor the entire town without being detected. Dr. Quinta nodded and began working with his team. They had done this many times before on other worlds. The Galactic Survey had perfected the art of watching new species without disturbing them. Small cameras and listening devices would be placed around the town. Advanced sensors would monitor everything from body temperature to heart rates. How long do we plan to observe them? Asked Lieutenant Vexera. At least 2 weeks, the captain replied. We need to understand their daily routines, their social structures, and their natural behaviors. Only then can we decide if they are ready for full contact with the galactic community. The next morning, the aliens began their watch. What they saw in the first few hours made them uncomfortable. Human children walked to school along roads where large metal vehicles moved at dangerous speeds. The children seemed unconcerned about the obvious threat. They even played games while walking, throwing balls back and forth, completely ignoring the death machines racing past them. Are those young ones in danger? asked Dr. Quinter, watching a group of children cross the street. It appears so, replied his assistant, Dr. Mortali, but the adult humans do not seem concerned. Perhaps they do not understand the risk. At the local elementary school, the aliens watched in horror as children climbed on metal structures during something called recess. The children hung from bars, climbed ropes, and jumped from heights that would seriously injure most galactic species. Several children fell and scraped their knees, but they simply got up and continued playing. These young ones are incredibly resilient, Dr. Quinter noted in his report. They appear to recover from injuries that would require medical attention for most species. The adult humans were even more disturbing to watch. At the local construction site, workers operated massive machines that could easily crush them. They worked at heights that made the aliens dizzy just watching. When one worker slipped and fell 10 feet, he got up, brushed himself off, and went back to work. Do they not understand death? Dr. Mortali asked. They behave as if they are invincible. But the most shocking behavior happened at lunchtime. The aliens watched as humans consumed what their sensors identified as dangerous substances. The local diner served something called hot sauce that registered as a mild toxin. The humans not only ate it, they seemed to enjoy it. Some even asked for more. They are poisoning themselves, Dr. Quinter said, staring at his readings, and they appeared to be happy about it. The aliens observed similar behavior throughout the town. Humans drank a black liquid called coffee that would keep most species awake for days. They consumed alcohol, which was clearly a nervous system depressant. Some humans even smoked plant matter that filled their lungs with toxic chemicals. Perhaps they have developed immunity to these substances, suggested Dr. Mortali. Or perhaps, said Dr. Quinter quietly, they are more dangerous than we thought. On the third day of observation, the aliens encountered something that made them truly afraid. They were monitoring the home of Sheriff Ben Carter when they saw him cleaning something in his garage. At first, they thought it was a tool. Then they realized what it was. Is that a weapon? Dr. Mortali asked, watching Ben carefully clean. His rifle. Dr. Quinter checked his readings. The device was designed to fire small metal projectiles at extremely high speeds. According to his calculations, it could kill most galactic species from over a mile away. It is a projectile weapon, he confirmed, and it is very advanced. What made it worse was that Ben Carter was not a soldier. He was what humans called a peace officer, someone whose job was to protect the community. But he carried weapons that could kill from distances that required computer assistance for most galactic species. That afternoon, they discovered that Sheriff Carter was not unusual. Many humans in Cedar Falls owned similar weapons. Some owned multiple weapons. They kept them in their homes and their vehicles, and some even carried them while walking around town. Are they at war? Lieutenant Vexara asked when she saw the weapons report. No, Dr. Quinter replied, checking his cultural analysis. They appear to be at peace. They own these weapons for something they call hunting and sport. The word hunting required translation. When the aliens understood what it meant, they became even more concerned. Humans regularly went into the wilderness to track down and kill other animals. They did this not because they were starving, but because they enjoyed it. They hunt for pleasure. Dr. Mortali asked. It appears so, Dr. Quinter confirmed. They track animals across great distances, then kill them with precision weapons. They consider this a recreational activity. On the fourth day, the aliens met their first human hunter. Danny Brooks lived on the edge of town in a house surrounded by trees. He was 43 years old, married, and had a daughter in college. To most people, he seemed like a normal, peaceful man. But the alien sensors told a different story. Danny Brooks had been a soldier for 8 years. He had served in places with names like Afghanistan and Iraq. According to his military records, which the aliens had access to Earth's computer networks, he had been trained in what humans called special operations. The aliens looked up what this meant. Special operations soldiers were trained to survive in hostile environments, to track enemies across long distances, and to kill with precision and efficiency. They were the human equivalent of what the galaxy called apex predators. This is concerning, Captain Zixtera said when he reviewed Danny's file. This human has been trained to hunt other humans, And now he hunts animals for recreation, Dr. Quinter added. He has turned his combat skills into a hobby. The aliens watched as Danny prepared for something called elk season. He cleaned his weapons with the same care that a surgeon would clean medical instruments. He studied maps of the local mountains, marking trails and water sources. He prepared equipment that would allow him to survive in the wilderness for weeks. He is planning a hunt, Dr. Quinter observed, and he is being very thorough about it. Danny's daughter Amy arrived home from college that week. The aliens watched as she helped her father prepare for his hunting trip. Amy was studying wildlife biology, which meant she understood animals and their behaviors. She was also helping her father plan how to kill them. The young female understands both life and death, Dr. Mortali noted. She studies how animals live, but she also helps plan their deaths. It is a strange combination, Dr. Quinter agreed. Most species in the galaxy are either protectors of life or takers of life. These humans seem to be both. That evening, the aliens listened as Danny and Amy discussed the upcoming hunt. Danny talked about the specific animal he hoped to find. He described its size, its behavior patterns, and the best ways to track it. Amy provided scientific information about elk migration patterns and feeding habits. They are planning this hunt like a military operation, Lieutenant Vexera observed. They are using intelligence gathering, strategic planning, and precision weapons, because that is exactly what it is. Captain Zixera replied. These humans are not simple farmers or peaceful traders. They are predators, highly intelligent, well-armed predators. The conversation between Danny and Amy continued. They discussed the importance of a clean kill, the need to use every part of the animal, and the respect that should be shown to the creature they plan to hunt. This combination of deadly efficiency and moral consideration was unlike anything in the galactic database. They plan to kill with respect, Dr. Quinter said quietly. They will hunt this animal with the same precision they once used to hunt each other, but they will also honor its life. I am beginning to understand why this world feels different, Captain Zixera said. These humans are not just intelligent. They are not just dangerous. They are something that should not exist according to galactic evolution patterns. What do you mean? Dr. Mortali asked. They are apex predators who retain their capacity for morality, the captain explained. Most species become either peaceful or predatory as they evolve. These humans have somehow managed to become both. They can kill with perfect efficiency, but they also understand concepts like honor, respect, and gratitude. The aliens continued their watch as Danny Brooks made his final preparations. In 2 days, elk season would begin, and he would head into the mountains to hunt. The aliens planned to follow him and document the hunt for their report. None of them realized that they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of what it meant to be human. They thought they were simply observing a recreational activity. They had no idea that they were about to watch a demonstration of human evolution in action. The morning of elk season arrived with frost covering the ground around Cedar Falls. Danny Brooks woke up at 4 in the morning, just as he had done for the past 15 years when hunting season opened. He moved quietly through his house, not wanting to wake his wife. His hunting gear was already packed and waiting by the door, 5 miles away. The aliens on the Harmonious Dawn were also awake. Dr. Quinter had barely slept, knowing that today they would follow the human hunter into the wilderness. The alien observation team had prepared their best stealth equipment. They would track Danny Brooks from a safe distance and record everything he did. Are you certain our equipment will keep us hidden? Captain Zixera asked for the 3rd time. Yes, Captain, Dr. Quinter replied. Our stealth fields will make us invisible to human eyes. Our sensors showed that human vision is limited compared to most galactic species. They will not detect us and our scent. The captain asked, masked by our environmental suits. Dr. Quinter confirmed, we will be like ghosts to them. At 5:30 in the morning, Danny loaded his truck with his gear. He had a rifle, a hunting knife, rope, a small tent, sleeping bag, and enough food for a week. But what caught the aliens' attention was how little he actually carried compared to what they would need for a similar journey. He is carrying supplies for 7 days in the wilderness, Dr. Mortali observed. But the weight is minimal. How will he survive? Perhaps he does not plan to stay long, suggested Dr. Quinta. They were wrong. Danny planned to stay as long as it took to find the elk he wanted. But humans needed less equipment to survive than most galactic species. Danny could make fire, find water, and shelter himself using skills he had learned in the military and from years of hunting. Dotney drove his truck up a mountain road that would have terrified most alien species. The path was narrow, winding, and had steep drops on one side. Danny drove it like he was going to the grocery store, drinking coffee from a metal cup and listening to music. He shows no fear. Dr. Quinta noted this road would require extreme caution protocols for our species. He is treating a life-threatening journey as routine, Captain Zixtera replied. This is not normal behavior. Danny parked his truck at a trailhead 8,000 feet above sea level. The air was thin enough that most galactic species would need breathing assistance. Danny breathed it like it was nothing special. He shouldered his pack, checked his rifle, and started walking into the wilderness. The aliens followed at a distance of 200 meters, their stealth equipment keeping them invisible. What they witnessed over the next hour changed their understanding of human capabilities forever. Danny moved through the forest like he belonged there. He stepped over fallen logs, pushed through thick brush, and climbed steep slopes without apparent effort. His movements were quiet, efficient, and purposeful. He left almost no trace of his passage. He is adapted for this environment, Dr. Mortali observed. But humans evolved on plains, not in mountains. They are adaptable beyond our calculations, Dr. Quinta replied. He is functioning perfectly in an environment that should challenge him. After 2 hours of hiking, Danny stopped at a clearing and examined the ground. The aliens watched as he knelt down and studied what appeared to be empty dirt. Danny touched the ground, smelled the air, and looked at broken twigs on nearby bushes. What is he doing? Dr. Mortali asked. Dr. Quinta checked his sensors. There are no visible signs of animal activity in this area, yet he appears to be gathering information. Danny stood up and smiled. He had found elk tracks. The tracks were 2 days old, but they told him everything he needed to know. A large bull elk had passed through this area, heading toward the water source half a mile away. The tracks showed that the elk was limping slightly on its left rear leg, which meant it would move slower than normal. The aliens could not see the tracks. Even with their advanced sensors, they detected nothing that would indicate an animal had been in this location. But Danny could read the forest like the aliens read computer displays. He is tracking something, Dr. Quinta realized, but we cannot detect what he is following. His sensors are more sophisticated than our equipment, Captain Zixtera said quietly. That should not be possible. Danny followed the trail for 3 more hours. The aliens watched him navigate through terrain that would challenge their best explorers. He crossed streams by jumping from rock to rock, climbed cliff faces using small handholds, and pushed through dense vegetation that would slow most species to a crawl. He moves like a natural predator, Dr. Mortali observed. But he also moves like prey avoiding detection. How is this possible? He is both hunter and hunted, Dr. Quinta replied. His species evolved to survive against other predators while also being predators themselves. Around noon, Danny stopped for lunch. He sat on a fallen log and ate a simple meal of dried meat, nuts, and water. While he ate, he continued to study his surroundings. His eyes constantly moved, watching for movement, listening for sounds, analyzing everything around him. The aliens realized that Danny had not stopped hunting while he was eating. Every sense was still active, still gathering information. He was processing hundreds of environmental details at the same time. He never stops being a predator, Dr. Quinta said. Even when he appears to be resting, he is still hunting. After lunch, Danny found fresher tracks. The elk had been in this area yesterday morning. Danny examined the tracks carefully, then looked up at the sky. He was calculating wind direction, time of day, and animal behavior patterns. The elk will be at the water source around sunset, Danny said quietly to himself. The aliens heard him through their listening equipment. Danny had looked at some marks in the dirt and predicted exactly where a wild animal would be at a specific time. This level of tracking ability was beyond anything in the galactic database. He is predicting animal behavior with precision. Dr. Mortali said. How can he know where the elk will be? He understands the prey animal's mind. Captain Zixtera replied. He thinks like the animal he is hunting. Danny changed direction and began moving toward higher ground. Instead of following the elk's trail, he was planning to intercept it. He had calculated where the elk would go and was positioning himself to be there first. The aliens followed, struggling to keep up. Danny moved through the wilderness like he had been born there. He avoided areas where his scent would carry to the elk, stayed downwind, and chose paths that kept him hidden from view. He is not just following the animal, Dr. Quinta realized. He is outthinking it. As the afternoon wore on, the aliens watched Danny position himself near a small lake where the elk would come to drink. Danny found a spot 30 meters away with a clear view of the water. He settled into position and became completely still. He is waiting, Dr. Mortali observed. How long will he wait? Asked Dr. Quinta. The answer was as long as it took. Danny could remain motionless for hours if necessary. He had learned patience during his military training and perfected it during years of hunting. He could slow his breathing, control his heart rate, and become part of the landscape. The aliens watched in amazement as Danny essentially disappeared while remaining in plain sight. His camouflage clothing helped, but it was more than that. Danny had the ability to become so still that he was virtually invisible. He has made himself into a natural part of the environment, Dr. Quinter said. Even our sensors have difficulty tracking him when he is motionless. 2 hours before sunset, the elk appeared. It was a massive bull, exactly as Danny had predicted. The animal was magnificent, standing over 5 feet tall at the shoulder, with antlers that spread 6 feet across. It weighed more than 700 pounds. The elk approached the water carefully, constantly watching for danger. Its senses were sharp, evolved over millions of years to detect predators, but it could not detect Danny. The elk cannot sense him, Dr. Mortali whispered. How is this possible? The human has become invisible to a prey animal that evolved to detect predators, Dr. Quinter replied. This should not be possible. Danny slowly raised his rifle and looked through the scope. The elk was 80 meters away, well within range for an easy shot. But Danny did not shoot immediately. He studied the animal, waiting for the perfect moment. The aliens watched in growing horror as they realized what they were witnessing. This was not just hunting. This was a demonstration of predatory perfection that had been refined over millions of years of human evolution. He could kill the animal right now, Captain Zixtera observed. Why does he wait? Because he wants the perfect kill, Dr. Quinter replied. He will not take the shot until he is certain of success. Danny waited until the elk turned slightly, exposing its vital organs. The animal was calm, unaware of the danger. In that moment, Danny held the life of a magnificent creature in his hands. He could choose to take that life or let it continue. The aliens held their breath, waiting to see what the human predator would do. Danny Brooks held his breath and steadied his rifle. The massive bull elk stood 80 meters away, drinking peacefully from the mountain lake. The animal had no idea that death was watching it through a rifle scope. Danny's finger rested lightly on the trigger, but he did not shoot yet. The aliens watched in silent terror from their hidden position. They had followed this human predator for 8 hours through wilderness that would challenge their best soldiers. Now they were about to witness what humans called the kill. Why does he not shoot? Dr. Mortali whispered through their communication. System, he has a clear target. He is waiting for something, Dr. Quinter replied, studying his readings. The human's heart rate is slow and steady. He is completely calm. What the aliens did not understand was that Danny was waiting for the perfect shot. He had spent years learning exactly where to place a bullet to kill an elk quickly and cleanly. He would not shoot until he was absolutely certain the animal would die without suffering. The elk raised its head and looked around, sensing something in the air. For a moment, Danny thought the animal might run, but after a few seconds, the elk went back to drinking. Danny adjusted his aim slightly and took a deep breath. The animal senses danger, Captain Zixtera observed from the alien ship, but he cannot locate the source. The human has positioned himself perfectly, Dr. Quinter replied. Wind direction keeps his scent away from the prey. His location gives him a clear shot while keeping him hidden. This is predatory behavior at its most advanced level. Danny squeezed the trigger gently, the way he had been taught 20 years ago in the military. The rifle fired with a sharp crack that echoed across the lake. The bullet traveled 80 meters in less than a tenth of a second and struck the elk exactly where Danny had aimed. The massive animal dropped instantly. One moment it was alive and drinking water. The next moment it was dead. There was no running, number suffering, no prolonged death. The elk simply fell and lay still. Incredible precision, Dr. Mortala said, checking his instruments. The projectile struck the target's vital organs with perfect accuracy. The animal died immediately, Dr. Quinter confirmed. There was no pain, no struggle. The human killed it as efficiently as possible. But what happened next confused the aliens even more than the perfect shot. Danny did not immediately rush to claim his prize. Instead, he sat quietly for several minutes looking at the fallen elk. His expression was serious, almost sad. Why does he appear unhappy? Dr. Mortally asked. He has succeeded in his hunt. I do not understand, Dr. Quinter replied. Most predator species show excitement after a successful kill. This human shows ... respect. Danny finally stood up and walked slowly toward the elk. He approached the massive animal with careful steps, his rifle ready in case the elk was still alive. But Danny could see from the way it lay that his shot had been perfect. The elk was dead. When Danny reached the elk, he knelt down beside it and placed his hand on the animal's neck. He spoke quietly, words that the aliens recorded but did not immediately understand. Thank you for your life, Danny said to the dead elk. You were a magnificent animal. I will use every part of you and waste nothing. Your death will feed my family and your memory will stay with me. The aliens were shocked. They had watched many predator species hunt across the galaxy. Most showed excitement, aggression, or simple satisfaction after a kill. None had ever shown gratitude to their prey. He is thanking the dead animal, Dr. Mortali said in amazement. Why would a predator thank its prey? This behavior does not exist in any species in our database, Dr. Quinter replied. Predators kill prey. They do not honor it. Danny spent several more minutes examining the elk. He checked the bullet wound to confirm that his shot had been clean. He looked at the animal's antlers, admiring their size and symmetry. He ran his hands along the elk's body, estimating how much meat it would provide. Then Danny began the process that the aliens would later describe as the ritual. Danny took out his hunting knife and began field dressing the elk. The aliens watched in fascination as Danny worked with precision and efficiency that matched his shooting. Every cut was deliberate and careful. Danny removed the internal organs, quickly preventing the meat from spoiling. He is processing the prey with surgical precision, Dr. Quinter observed. Every action serves a specific purpose, and he is using every part. Dr. Mortali added, nothing is being wasted. This was true. Danny carefully set aside the organs that could be used for food. He cleaned the heart and liver, which would become meals for his family. He even saved parts that many hunters discarded, knowing that they could be used for other purposes. As Danny worked, he continued to speak to the elk. He explained what he was doing and why. He promised again that nothing would be wasted. He told the elk that its death had meaning and purpose. He is having a conversation with dead prey, Dr. Mortally said. This is beyond our understanding. He treats the kill as sacred, Dr. Quinter replied. He kills with deadly efficiency, but he also shows reverence for what he has taken. The aliens watched Danny work for 2 hours. His movements were smooth and practiced. He had clearly done this many times before. But what impressed them most was his attitude. Danny never seemed to forget that he was handling the body of a living creature that had died for his benefit. When Danny finished field dressing the elk, he carefully wrapped the meat in protective coverings. He loaded everything onto a frame that he strapped to his back. The elk had weighed over 700 pounds when alive. The meat and usable parts still weighed nearly 300 pounds. He cannot possibly carry that much weight, Dr. Mortali said. Human load carrying capacity exceeds our calculations, Dr. Quinter replied, checking his data. But this is far beyond normal limits. Danny shouldered the heavy pack and began walking back toward his truck. The aliens followed, amazed by what they were seeing. Danny carried a load that would require mechanical assistance for most galactic species. He carried it through rough terrain, uphill, for miles. His species evolved as persistence hunters, Dr. Quinter realized. They can carry heavy loads across long distances without mechanical aid. And he is doing this to honor the animal he killed. Captain Zixtera added from the ship. He will not leave any part behind. As Danny walked, he continued to show respect for the elk. When he stopped to rest, he carefully set down his pack to avoid damaging the meat. He talked about the elk to himself, remembering details about the animal and the hunt. "I saw you 3 times this season before today," Danny said as he rested. "You are smart and careful. You made me work hard to find you. That made this hunt special." The aliens listened to Danny's words and tried to understand what they meant. Danny was not just talking to a dead animal. He was acknowledging that the elk had been a worthy opponent. The hunt had been a challenge, and Danny respected the elk for making it difficult. The human views the hunt as a contest between equals, Dr. Quinter observed. He does not see himself as superior to his prey, but he is clearly superior, Dr. Mortali replied. He tracked the animal across impossible distances, predicted its behavior, and killed it with perfect precision. That is what makes this so disturbing, Captain Zixtera said from the ship. This human has incredible predatory abilities, but he does not view prey as inferior. He treats killing as a sacred responsibility. Danny reached his truck just as the sun was setting. He carefully loaded the elk meat into the vehicle, organizing everything so it would stay fresh during the drive home. He cleaned his knife and rifled with the same care he had shown in processing the elk before driving away. Danny looked back toward the mountains where he had hunted. He stood quietly for a moment, remembering the elk and the successful hunt. Then he got in his truck and began to drive back to Cedar Falls. He is returning to his community, Dr. Quinter observed. The hunt is complete. No, Captain Z said quietly. I do not think the hunt is complete until he shares the meat with others. This human will feed his family and friends with what he has taken. The hunt serves the entire community. The aliens followed Danny's truck back to town, their minds struggling to process what they had witnessed. They had watched a human track an animal across impossible terrain, kill it with perfect precision, process it with surgical skill, and carry it home while showing constant respect and gratitude. This is not normal predatory behavior, Dr. Quinter said. This is something else entirely. This is what happens when apex predators develop moral consciousness, Captain Zixtera replied. They become something that should not exist according to galactic evolution patterns. What do you mean? Dr. Mortali asked. They become perfect killers who understand the value of life, the captain explained. They can take life with incredible efficiency, but they also understand that taking life is a serious responsibility. They kill not from anger or hunger alone, but from respect and necessity. The aliens realized they had witnessed something unique in the galaxy. Danny Brooks was not just a predator. He was a predator with a conscience, a killer with morality, a hunter who understood the sacred nature of what he did. And Danny Brooks was considered a normal, average human. Dr. Quinter sat in his laboratory on the Harmonious Dawn, staring at 3 days of recorded data. The footage of Danny Brooks hunting the elk played on his screen for the 10th time. Each time he watched it, he became more disturbed by what he had witnessed. Computer analyze human tracking capabilities. He said to the ship's artificial intelligence, "Analysis complete." The computer replied, "Human subject tracked prey across 12.7 kilometers of difficult terrain using sensory input, not detectable by our instruments. Prediction accuracy of prey behavior, 98.7%. Weapon accuracy at 80 meters. Perfect hit on target area measuring 15 centimeters. Dr. Quinter shook his head. Those numbers were impossible. No species in the galactic database could track prey across such distances using only their natural senses. Most predator species relied on scent trails or electronic equipment for long-distance tracking. Computer, compare human hunting efficiency to known galactic predator species. Human hunting efficiency exceeds all known galactic predators by significant margins. Human subject demonstrated persistence hunting, precision weapons usage, environmental adaptation, and load-carrying capacity beyond standard predator classifications. Dr. Quinter saved his analysis and walked to the bridge. Captain Zixtera was standing at the viewing window, looking down at the lights of Cedar Falls. The human town looked peaceful and harmless from space, but both aliens now knew better. "Captain, I have completed my preliminary analysis," Dr. Quinter said. "And what is your recommendation?" the captain asked without turning around. "We should leave immediately and recommend that Earth be classified as a restricted world." Captain Zixtera turned to face his science officer. "Explain your reasoning." Dr. Quinter activated a holographic display showing the data from Danny's hunt. This human, Danny Brooks, demonstrated predatory capabilities that exceed anything in our database. But that is not the most disturbing part. "What is the most disturbing part?" the captain asked. "He showed moral consciousness during the kill. He honored his prey, used every part of the animal, and expressed gratitude for its life. This combination does not exist elsewhere in the galaxy." Captain Zixtera studied the data. Most predator species are either efficient killers without moral consideration, or they develop moral consciousness and stop being predators. These humans appear to be both. "Exactly," Dr. Quinter confirmed. "They have retained their predatory efficiency while developing advanced moral reasoning. According to galactic evolution patterns, this should be impossible. But we have observed it with our own instruments," the captain said. "Show me the military data again." Dr. Quinter displayed Danny's military service record. Danny Brooks served 8 years in human military forces. He was trained in what they call special operations. This means he was trained to hunt other humans. Hunt other humans. Captain Zixtera repeated. "Yes, humans engage in organized warfare against each other. Their soldiers are trained to track, locate, and kill other humans with precision and efficiency." Danny Brooks was considered excellent at this task. The captain felt his skin change color with fear. "You are telling me that this human was trained to hunt the most dangerous prey possible, other humans, and now he applies those same skills to hunting animals for recreation?" Dr. Quinter continued. "He has turned combat skills designed for warfare into a peaceful hobby that is not peaceful," Captain Zixtera said. "That is terrifying." Dr. Quinter nodded. "But there is more. According to our cultural analysis, Danny Brooks is considered a normal human. His skills are not unusual for his species. Many humans in Cedar Falls have similar military training. Many others hunt regularly. How many humans have military training? Approximately 1% of the human population has received advanced combat training. Another 5% have received basic military training. But all humans learn basic survival skills during their development." Captain Zixtera realized what this meant. "You are telling me that 6% of humans are trained killers, and the rest are naturally adapted for survival in hostile environments." "That is correct, and they all live together peacefully in communities like Cedar Falls." The captain walked back to the viewing window. "A species of trained predators who have learned to cooperate instead of compete. What could such a species accomplish if they ever reached the stars?" Dr. Quinter had thought about this question for hours. They would become the dominant species in the galaxy within a few generations. No other species could compete with their combination of predatory efficiency and cooperative behavior. "And they already have space technology," the captain added. "Our initial scans show they have primitive spacecraft and are developing faster than light communication. They will reach the stars within 50 years, Dr. Quinter estimated. Maybe sooner." Captain Zixtera made his decision. "Prepare a report for the Galactic Council. Recommend that Earth be classified as a restricted world. No contact protocols until further study." "What classification level?" Dr. Quinter asked. "Maximum restriction. Class 5 Deathworld with apex predator inhabitants." Dr. Quinter was shocked. Class 5 was the highest danger rating in the galactic system. It was reserved for worlds with environmental conditions that could kill most galactic species within hours, Captain. "Are you certain?" "Class 5 rating means no galactic vessel is allowed within this solar system." "I am certain," Captain Zixtera replied. "We have observed humans consume toxins for pleasure. operate in environments that would kill most species, and hunt with efficiency that exceeds our military capabilities. And they consider all of this normal behavior. What about diplomatic contact? Dr. Quinter asked. The humans seemed peaceful during our initial communications. They seemed peaceful because they were not threatened, the captain explained. But we have seen what happens when a human hunts. Can you imagine what would happen if humans felt threatened by an alien species? Dr. Quinter thought about Danny Brooks tracking the elk across impossible terrain, predicting its behavior, and killing it with perfect precision. Then he imagined Danny using those same skills against alien invaders. They would hunt us, he said quietly. They would hunt us across the galaxy if necessary. Captain Zixter confirmed. And based on what we have observed, they would succeed. Dr. Quinter began preparing the report that would change galactic policy toward Earth forever. He included all the footage from Danny's hunt, detailed analysis of human predatory capabilities, and cultural information about human military training. What should we tell the humans when we leave? Dr. Quinter asked. Captain Zixter thought about this. The humans had been cooperative and peaceful during their brief contact. They deserved an explanation for the aliens' sudden departure. Tell them that we have completed our initial study and are returning to share our findings with the galactic community. Tell them that we will return when appropriate. And when will that be? When we have learned to be worthy of such predators, the captain said. Or when they have learned to be less dangerous. The next morning, Jake Morrison received a final transmission from the Harmonious Dawn. The message was polite and friendly. The aliens thanked Earth for allowing them to observe human culture. They said they had learned much and would share their findings with the galactic community. But Jake noticed something strange in the message. The aliens seemed nervous, almost frightened. Their words were carefully chosen, and they mentioned several times that humans were remarkable and unique in ways that sounded more like warnings than compliments. We hope to return when conditions are appropriate, the message concluded. Until then, we wish humanity well in all your endeavors. Director Lisa Hayes read the message and frowned. Do you think we scared them somehow? I don't know, Jake replied. But they seem eager to leave. The Harmonious Dawn departed Earth's atmosphere that afternoon and jumped to faster-than-light travel as soon as they reached the edge of the solar system. The ship's emergency beacon began broadcasting immediately. Warning to all galactic vessels. The beacon transmitted. Sol system contains Class 5 Deathworld with apex predator species. Approach prohibited without Galactic Council authorization. Species demonstrates predatory capabilities beyond standard classifications. Recommend no contact protocols until comprehensive threat assessment completed. Within days, the warning reached every corner of the galaxy. Earth became the first world in galactic history to be classified as too dangerous for contact based solely on the behavior of its inhabitants. Dr. Quinter's report became required reading at the Galactic Military Academy. The footage of Danny Brooks hunting became the most studied predator behavior recording in galactic history. Military strategists analyzed every move Danny made, trying to understand how a single human could be so efficient at tracking and killing, but they could never understand the most important part. Danny Brooks was not a soldier when he hunted. The Elkie was a father and husband who worked as a hunting guide. He represented average human capabilities, not exceptional ones. In Cedar Falls, Danny Brooks continued his normal life. He shared the elk meat with his family and neighbors. He cleaned his rifle and put it away until next hunting season. He went back to guiding hunting trips and helping tourists learn about the wilderness.